Okay, so we are live. Let's wait for the audience by the time. We'll just wait for the couple of minutes, then we'll start with our session. Sahaj, I guess the screen is not visible, the presentation. Okay, now it is. Am I properly audible? Okay, so let's begin with the session. Unless you have been under a rock, you have probably heard about ChatGPT. Now, let's experience the future of chat with ChatGPT. Now, the biggest question in today's technical world is that what actually ChatGPT is. A very good evening, everyone, to our amazing audience who took their time out to attend this session with us today. I am Tanvi Seni, a core committee member of Azure Developer Community Dehradun, a community which aims to support the students and professionals to upskill and grow. Welcome to the staggering session named Chatting Beyond Borders, a chat with GPT. To deliver this insight on the same, we have with us our very talented and amazing personality, Miss Asha Joshi. Asha is the founder and CTO at Iterative, a company that develops AI solutions for organizations. I also have an important announcement for all the participants. At the end of our session, we have prepared a fun challenge for all of you, which will not only fill you with enthusiasm with this evening, but will also help you grab some amazing goodies from Microsoft. So, everyone is requested to stay throughout this session, and the challenge will be released in the end. Over to you, Asha.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be here. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm very much looking forward to the session.
Same here.
Yeah, so that's my presentation. Hello, everyone. I'm going to be taking you beyond the borders today, beyond the buzz on ChatGPT. But before we get into that, how can I have control over my presentation? Could you help me with that? So, 1 second, please. All right. So we're going beyond the bus. And before that, a brief about myself. As you all know, my name is Asha Joshi, and I am the founder and CTO at Thinkin Labs. I've been personally interested in AI since 2018, and professionally, I've been developing software for over 10 years now. I'm also a tech advisor at a startup Chile companies, and I'm currently based in Santiago. Besides that, there is one more part of me that I would like to talk about. That is that I was born in a remote village in the mountains of Pithoragarh. So I'm a Kumaoni and I have a special connection to Uttarakhand. So today, talking in front of the deaf community in Dehradun, that makes it even more special for me. This is something I wanted to add before getting into the main part. So today I will be taking you through how we have come here, the history, why suddenly there is such a big hype, what are the applications, what could we expect happening next, and what does it mean for you? Okay, so jumping into that in a while, but before that, I would like to talk about OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. It's an AI research and deployment company that's focused on helping humans become more productive. And they are doing this by developing various language models. The current one is GPT-3, and they are working on GPT-4 right now, which is rumored to be launching in the next week. So let's see. Besides that, they have launched two user interfaces. ChatGPT is one, which we all, I assume, have experienced and are talking about. And the second one is DALL-E, which I will be also introducing to you in case you are not aware of it. On the right, you see is my company Thinkin. We are also an AI research company, and our aim is to help people bring their current skills to the next level. And for that, we use these language models. So right now, we're using GPT-3, and we have started with foreign languages. So our first product is a fluency app that is catering specifically to international professionals living in a non-English speaking country. So in case you are planning to go abroad or have friends or family who is living abroad, please let them know that we exist and what we are doing. All right. So let's get into how it all started. For those who are not yet familiar with natural language processing, there are two terms that I would like to briefly talk about that is important for us to know. One is neural networks. Neural networks are a kind of software that are inspired by human brains. So like in our brain, there are neurons that are able to signal each other. Similarly, in a neural network, there is a collection of nodes that are connected to each other. And language models, they are a type of neural network that is trained on a lot of text. And it is important that the network is able to make sense out of that data, because text has a lot of components, different letters. So it should be able to make sense out of that to be useful. So the first innovation happened in this area was in 1980s, when recurrent neural networks were introduced. And these networks were able to handle sequence of words. But the problem was that they would forget whatever was the previous word. So for example, if there's a sentence saying the cat is hungry, so by the time it would reach the word hungry, it would forget that it's about the cat. So of course, the next word that will be predicted by the AI will not, most likely will not make sense, right? To overcome that, in 1997, long short-term memory networks were introduced that were kind of an upgrade into the recurrent neural networks. And they were able to retain the past data. And one more good thing was that they were able to handle hundreds of words like strings with hundreds of words. And because of this, there were a lot of advancements that happened in the area of text to speech and voice to text. But there was one major problem here as well. That was that they relied on sequential processing. That means that they would process each word one after the another in a sequence. And because of that, they could not be scaled beyond 100. So it could not go to 1,000 words. So that was a big limitation. Another limitation with these previous models was that they were very slow to train. And the reason for this was that they were not able to identify patterns of the data. So they could not their labeling. So this is a place, this is a name, this is a verb, noun. So doing that on text, and you can imagine it's a very slow process, and the amount of data that you can have, which is annotated, it cannot be huge. That was a big limitation. And on the right side, what you see is my thesis. Also in the same area in 2017, I created a tool, a web-based tool for researchers to be able to annotate data, and that annotation then created kind of a parse tree out of the labels that were added. So I have a personal experience on how hard and how slow this process is. But what also happened in 2017 was that transformers were invented by Google researchers. Now, the great thing with transformers was that they were able to track each word and phrase in a sequence. That means they were able to retain context, and the meaning that we're able to derive was much more accurate than all the previous models. An example here would be, let's say there's a sentence saying, the cat is black. And then there's another sentence which says, the cat is hungry. So the AI will be able to understand that the first sentence is a physical characteristic of the cat, and second sentence is a state of the cat, that the cat is hungry right now. So it was able to understand that kind of context. What also happened after the invention of transformers was that we have seen a rapid growth since 2018 till today, that a number of transformer-based models have come. And why it is so powerful is because it relies on unsupervised learning. So a few slides back, I told you that the data had to be labeled manually, and suddenly with transformers, you could train it with a lot of text that was not needed to be annotated. We could just take text from any source and give it to the model. And on the top of that, the network was able to identify patterns of the data on its own without being told how it should look like. So that was a big innovation, or a big jump in the area of taking the capabilities of NLP to the next level. So specific to OpenAI, in 2018, OpenAI was the first company that launched a pre-trained transformer model. And that's also where the name GPT comes from. So GPT is Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Very next year, they provided an upgrade into GPT. They called it GPT-2. that was an improved version and even bigger. By bigger, I mean that the size of the parameters was 1 billion in GPT-2. And this was able to create human-like text and was great in performance, but it wasn't immediately made public because there were a lot of concerns about the output being unethical or being biased. And the reason was purely because it was trained on the data from the internet. So that data that was being fed was definitely not being supervised. Um, an upgrade onto GPT-2 and this limitation was fixed in GPT-3, fixed to some extent. And GPT was much bigger version of GPT-2, and that means that it came from 1 billion parameters to 175 billion parameters, and is capable to generate human-like text, which we have already experienced because ChatGPT is based on the top of GPT-3. So it was capable of summarizing text, answering questions, and creating stories. And we have seen that already through ChatGPT. So that's what where we are right now. Beyond OpenAI, there have been many other players in this market. So here is kind of a history of what happened between 2018 to 2021. So Google also came into the picture in 2019. They launched BERT, and followed by T5 in 2020. And Facebook launched XLM, followed by Roberta, and then BART also came. And Hugging Face is another AI research company that launched DistillBERT in 2020. That was kind of a scaled down version of BERT. These are the companies among others. So until 2021, we can see that a lot was happening. Researchers, developers, and AI enthusiasts were aware of it. But suddenly, what happened that everybody of us, or the people who are not into AI, suddenly got into this hype and it became a mainstream. So this happened in last year, December, when OpenAI launched its first user interface, that was ChatGPT. And suddenly all of us had access to this screen where you had a prompt and you could just type a question, you could give it a task, and within minutes you would get a response that's just not just like human text, but it's much more qualified and much better than any other human that can answer you the same in that short time. So of course this was a surprise, big surprise for many of us. And as a result of it, within a week, ChatGPT reached 1 million users. And within 2 months, it has reached over 100 million users. So that's like the fastest any software has grown in the history of humanity. And here we are, even if you know about AI or if you don't know, all of us are talking about it, have been able to experience how powerful it is, and are curious about what does it mean, like what will happen next. All right, but like everything has two sides. So there has also been some negative responses in this area. So this is an article from an American magazine, The Atlantic. You might be familiar with it. So they according to them, ChatGPT's answers are very shallow and not really useful. But what we also see was a lot of positive response that happened. So BuzzFeed is another American magazine. You also might be familiar with it. And they announced that they will be launching BuzzFeed quizzes, and that will be powered by GPT-3. So they will be collaborating with OpenAI for that. And as soon as they announced this, their stock price have gone 3 times higher. And that clearly tells us that there is a big number of people that are seeing a positive future with AI, and they see that AI will be an inevitable part of our lives, right? What also happened, I'm sure many of you would also be aware of this news, Excuse me. So in January this year, Microsoft invested $10 billion into AI. And what does it mean for us? We can really imagine the scale Microsoft has in their vision to bring to AI. So imagine really AI as a service being available to each developer, to all the companies, and really imagining that within 5 years, all of us will be using AI to get some or the other of our personal uh, things to be done, and companies using AI for various use cases. So that really tells that Microsoft has big plans to scale AI and make it available as a service to as many people as possible and as many companies as possible. Okay, so followed by that, Feb last month, Bing, new Bing was launched, and it is like a ChatGPT experience on the top of Bing. I'm not sure if you have tried it. If you haven't, then I would recommend you to try it out to see how it feels. And if you have not watched the launch video, that's even more important as an AI enthusiast or somebody who is curious to know more about it, to really understand what is going to happen, like what is upcoming in this field, and to really be at the upfront of this technology and be aware of how you could benefit from what are the changes, what are the new things that are going to come. So this is one thing I would recommend you to try out and to watch the launch video of Bing New. Right. So with that, sorry, um, I have a question from you all. Now that you all have tried Open Chat GPT, so I would like to know what is your opinion? Are you convinced that this is going to be the humanity's future, or are you still like, okay, I'm not yet convinced?
Hello, ma'am. Sounds like there is a little bit delay in your voice, maybe also in your internet connections, maybe I guess, because okay.
Okay, am I audible? Lakshit, am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are audible, but there is slight delay in your aud. Just give
Mm-hmm,
me a
mm-hmm.
second. This Tanvi here. It's like, can you please repeat your question for the audience, ma'am? Just because I'll just type it and put in the chat.
Right. So the question is, right. The question is, what is your opinion on AI? Are you not yet convinced, or you see AI as humanity's future?
Okay, okay. So we have these answers coming. Okay, okay. So guys, everyone who are listening to this session here, the question is on your screen. Here we are today. So what's your opinion on AI? Are you not convinced yet, or what do you guys think? Like humanity is the future? Maybe if I have to answer this question, uh, I'm sailing on two similar boats. I'm sailing on two boats right now because on one phase I'm also a metaverse builder. I'm building something on the top of metaverse, and on the other side I also feel because there is no application of those things. I feel that can be modified a little bit because the human texture is still missing in those AI terms that we are and maybe that we are experiencing right now. So if somehow that I'm really not very unsure about this all these big terms, but still I need to figure we on my personal opinion we need to figure out some applications that could be really transforming or that would be really convincing for all of us to go on that AI boat. Yeah, AI could be the future, that can be the leading industry, right? That's what I say. That's what my call on this.
Perfect, perfect. That sounds great. So I would say that whatever you're saying, either it's A, that I'm not convinced, or B, I see that it's really the future of humanity. I would say there is no one answer. Both are correct. And we should, at this moment, keep all those emotions aside and be curious and be open to know what is happening, to understand what is happening, and to be aware of what kind of things that are coming in this area, and just be open about it and be learning. So yeah, I will be now taking you through some applications of generative AI. So this is divided into 5 phases, and where we are today is the first phase, that's the generic model. What it means is that we are inputting, the input is in the form of text into the large language model, and the output we get is either text or an image. And that's where we are today, and that's what we have seen with ChatGPT on the left, where you input some text into the prompt and it responds you with text. And on the right, you see is another user interface introduced by OpenAI, that's DAL-E. It's an AI that creates realistic images and art forms based on whatever description that you provide to it. So what you can see here is that all these animals, they are not really existing, but this is based on the imagination of the person who created it. So yeah, this is also one interface that I would recommend you to try out, just to see how realistic images AI is able to produce based on whatever imagination you have. That's another use case that I came across, where this person has created a tool on the top of ChatGPT. So if you can see on the left side what is happening, this is basically for people who are lazy and who do not like to write emails. This is like the perfect tool for them. So this person on the left, it's Brian, and he wants to apply for a job, but he does not want to write the email. So he would use this tool. He would just say, I want the job, and here's my resume. And what this tool does is that it will create an email for Brian, and that email then he will be sending to the recruiter. But surprise, surprise, the recruiter is also using the same tool. And the recruiter will say, okay, tell me what is the summary of this. And he will read that Brian wants this job, and there's the PDF. So what is basically imaginable happening is that we would stop communicating in the form of long text, and we would always get a summary of our conversations that are happening, and we would really be conversing through the summaries that the AI is giving us. So yeah, that's something that is interesting that we could see happening. That's another use case, and this is using ChatGPT on the top of an existing tool. So here what you see is Google Sheets. I'm sure all of us are aware of it and have used it. So this person named Mehran Jalali has created this tool where he's just putting a question on the Excel, on the sheet, and then he is able to populate data just by clicking on these options on the right side. So without ever having to go to the internet and without knowing the formulas to be used, just based on these buttons and commanding based on text, he is able to get the 10 most populated countries, and he's able to get a sum of the Asian population. And now he is filtering all the Asian countries just by using text. So that's a great example of how AI can make our lives so much easier, and without ever leaving sheets, you have all of these things accomplished. Notion is another very popular tool for taking notes. They have also 3 weeks ago launched Notion AI. So until now, you would always enter whatever you want to write, but suddenly you now can get summaries, get stories, or get a draft of whatever you want to write uh, with the integrated AI into the tool. Now that's what has already happened with the phase one. But what is the next phase? What is coming forward with generative AI? So what we are going to see very next happening is we are going to see a lot of multimodal models. That means that the input will not just be text, but it will be different kind of media. So it will be possible to input voice, it will be possible to input videos, and it will also be possible to get the output in the form of a video or an audio. So the multiple medias will be possible to be analyzed and make sense out of. GPT-4 is already working in this direction. They already have announced support for voice and most probably also video. An example of this multimodal model is my company thinking. So in our application, you as a user, you can say something using voice or type something in a foreign language, and the AI will take that, will understand, will analyze, will correct the mistakes, and give you the response to whatever you have said in the foreign language. So here it is in Spanish, a correct form of it, and you as a user, you can then apply the correction using voice. So that's a great example to understand what we could be expecting with the phase two. Now, what will be the next phase? Is going to be custom data being provided to the language models, specifically for businesses. So imagine the language model is trained with the business data of an insurance company. So until now, with the phase one and phase two, whatever questions you ask or whatever task you give to the AI, the response what you always get is generic. It's based on whatever data that is available to all of us on the internet. But suddenly what we will see is that these models will be trained on business data that is specific to that company. So if it's an insurance company and you would ask a question, the response you will get will be specific to that company, not what is available on the internet. Another example would be, let's say we all are aware of Zomato, right? And their communication style, how they make things entertaining and funny. So what will also happen is that, for example, you're interacting with some chat with Zomato and you have a question, you will not only get the response specific to Zomato, but also in the style of how Zomato communicates. So that's something that we will be seeing happening. And there are going to be a lot more chatbots and helplines that will be powered by AI. Unlike right now, where we, for example, ask a question and we get a standard response. But with the new capabilities of NLP, what we will see is that the responses are going to be much more specific to our questions and based on the dynamically taken out from the database of the company. What is coming after that? What will be the phase four? And this is going very interesting. So imagine I am here creating I have access to a language model and I have trained it with my emails, with my journals, whatever work I'm doing, I've trained it with that, or my WhatsApp chats even. And what will happen with that is, for example, I'm not available and I'm on vacations, but my ChatGPT or my AI will be able to write emails on my behalf And to the extent that, for example, I like to put a smiley at the end of my emails. So my AI will know that this is my style of writing emails. So it will not just write emails, but those emails will be very much similar to how I read emails and also the same tone. So this is where we are seeing that this will be going. In case I'm, for example, not available and my colleague has a question for me, they could question onto um, my chat prompt, and they would get the answers what I would have answered based on my knowledge. So it's could be really imagined as having a personal assistant or your personal assistant, which is doing work on your behalf, which knows how whatever you know, and which also knows how to answer in your style. And this phase 5 is like the most interesting and the most extreme that we could imagine. It's called immortality as a service. Uh, we all are familiar with deep fakes, right? We have seen this celebrities uh, being faked their faces into different videos and being lips and dancing into the songs they have never danced to. So this is going a bit in that direction. So really imagine a language model where you train it with your images, your voice, and all of your text, basically, whatever you have, your emails, your chats, or whatever you're journaling. Uh, now, with all of that data, you're seeing on the other side of screen a face that looks like you, a voice that sounds like you, and if you ask it a question, it answers the same as what you would have answered based on your knowledge. And it's called immortality as a service because it's really like even when you're gone from the planet, your next generation or your grandchildren or any time later on, it will be possible for them to look at you, to ask questions and get answers based on what, for example, I would have answered if I was alive. So this is really extreme and is very much imaginable to be possible now with how we are progressing with AI. Um, there's one very interesting video I came across, I think last week, which is already going in this direction. So that was about a Hollywood movie being shot, and the pictures of the actor and the voice of the actor was being used to train a language model. And why this was being done, for example, after the video is shot, let's say, it goes to the censor board, right, to see if it is really like if it is really good to be made publicly available. So let's say if there is a sentence saying what the fuck, and the censor board says, okay, this is not something that we will allow to pass. So instead of having to reshoot that scene, what is now possible is that you could just input a different sentence and take the image, take that scene, and without the actor having to reshoot it, uh, it will output a similar video with a sentence. Let's say now the actor is saying, "What the hell?" And this is now possible to be done without having the actor to redo the scene, but plainly because of AI. What we could also imagine happening is that right now, for example, if a movie is dubbed in a different language, what we see is the subtitles at the bottom, or we hear a voice, but the lip sync are different, and we can see the expressions are different. So this all will be possible now with the AI, that the movies will be dubbed in different languages, and those performers on the screen will sound uh, will have the sound in the different language, and we'll also have the lip sync in the different language. So this is something that is already kind of happening with AI. So yeah, after knowing what all are the possibilities, I would like to briefly go into what does it mean for you. how you could leverage generative AI and what you could start doing already. So one big difference that we are going to see is that we are going to be iterative over incremental. So until now, whenever we have a project or whenever we want to design something, the approach is that we discuss with our colleagues, we get the first version ready, and until we have that first version, we cannot move to the next step to improving it and getting to the final result. So the process is really step by step and very slow. Now imagine now with the help of AI, without any effort, you getting the first draft within a few seconds. And as long as you are conscious that this is not the final result, but a draft, and you work on it, you are going to reach the final result much more, much faster, and with much less stress, so to say. Uh, yeah, an example here would be that you have to write a thesis, and right now, how would you approach it is that every day you would write, let's say, 2-3 pages, and until you have your 90 pages, you are not reviewing, you are just writing, and then the phase comes that you start reviewing it, and then you finalize, and it's a very long process. Now imagine you're able to get those 90 pages ready with the help of AI within a few minutes, and as long as you're not submitting the thesis as it is, and are aware that this is not a final outcome, but just a, a ground for you to say, to to really get into the step of reviewing it and making it fit to your requirements, you are going to have a much smoother journey and much faster results by following the iterative approach. And yeah, this is something that more and more people will be doing. And if you want to be at the edge, this is something I would also recommend you to start trying out with different use cases. Again, a reminder that ChatGPT its strength is to create human-like text, but it's not very creative. Like, of course, there are ways that makes it creative, but it's not creative in the sense that it's not going to tell you anything futuristic what a human mind can imagine. That kind of result or the answers produced by Chat GPT or the AI are not going to be the truth. So we have to be always aware that this is based on the knowledge that is available to the model, but this is not the final answer. The final answer has to come from you, and you have to take it as a draft always. Now with ChatGPT and all the ways AI is helping us getting our results faster, and then getting this initial step, like the first step, being possible within few seconds. It's more than important to understand how to make the best out of prompts, and which is why prompt engineering has become the #1 skill to master in 2023. So if you haven't tried it, if you have just used it for fun, I would highly recommend all of you to really see it as a skill, and really see it as something that can save you a lot of time, and really bring you forward or ahead of all the others. Right. So what does that mean? Is that really understanding how the formula works, what are the components, and how you could get to the result, like the most accurate result or the best result that you want to achieve. So the most important part is providing the right context. So we all, even if we are not aware, it's important to know that whatever conversation is that is happening in a chat prompt, it's a follow-up. So for example, you gave a task to ChatGPT, and then you're now giving a new task. It is likely that it will mix up, And for example, here you see the first sentence on this box on the right side. It says, ignore the previous prompts in this conversation. So if you want to start something from zero again, if you just tell the prompt that ignore the previous prompts, it will understand that, okay, this is a fresh start. A funny example here would be that, let's say you're using ChatGPT to write a love letter to, let's say, Rahul, and it created a very nice love letter. You're very happy with it, and now you're writing another love letter to uh, this time it's Abhishek, and you were not aware that the AI is taking into consideration the previous responses as well. And now you have a love letter for Abhishek, but it has parts of Rahul as well, and maybe the name as well. And you send it to Abhishek, and you are suddenly in a big trouble. So yeah, it's very important to know how the context works in a prompt. The second thing is the task. How specific you are. What are you telling the AI about yourself so that it understands your specific use case? For example, if I would just tell the prompt that, hey, I am Asha, and I want to write an email about my next project. It will give me a response, but a very generic one. But if I want it to be really useful to me and save time and effort into correcting my prompt, what I could do is provide it very specific information about me. So let's see what we have here in the second sentence that says, you are an experienced content writer with high levels of expertise and authority within the tech industry. So the AI knows that you are a content writer, you have experience, and and it is specific in the tech industry. So it's very important to understand how these different components of the prompt formula can give you the exact result that you're looking for. And the last but not the least part of the ChatGPT is the chat. So that's what you see at the fifth step, that is refine. So what happens is that you get a response, and then you get into a conversation or a chat. That's where also the name ChatGPT comes from. So you get to command, let's say you got a response, and then you can say, okay, it's great, but write it using more natural and expressive language. So you really going step by step incrementally in the form of chat, you are improving your result. And that was a drawback in the previous version, that was in Instruct GPT, where if you gave an input to the prompt gave a response, what you had to do was, okay, I'm not satisfied with the response. So what you had to do was you had to copy whatever prompt you have given, and you had to update, like edit it, and again input it. So that's something that is completely different with ChatGPT. It's now very much in the form of a chat. Yeah, so that's these are the components that you can learn about to use the capabilities of ChatGPT to the maximum. So here I have some links that I personally used and keep using, and here I have them for you as well, which you can later on visit them, read about them, and try them out for yourself. What I would also recommend is that not only you having fun with ChatGPT, but you really look at it as, how is it really helping me become more productive? Which are the areas where it is reducing me time, and which are the areas where I am able to produce much better results than I would do without it? So I'm part of a startup grind community in the area of ChatGPT. And what I've done is that I've interviewed different members of the community, asking them, how is it impacting you? What kind of changes are you seeing? So these are some results of that. So you can see here there is one soft, like the first point here in the second point, which says that software engineers share details or use cases where the ChatGPT saved them 4 to 20 hours of task. So it can really be that you write down how it is saving time for you in a text format, or you can use a tabular form, which is more organized, to really categorize what are the areas, what have you done, and how much time you have saved, to be able to track uh, and understand where you can really use uh, AI to make you more productive, and which are the areas where it's not really useful for yourself. All right. So yeah, with all that, in case you're feeling like, okay, I actually did not do much with ChatGPT, I was not aware that there's so much going on, don't panic. The party has just started and you're not late. You have all the resources, you have all the knowledge now to get started and really get your hands dirty. By this I mean is that uh, beyond playing, just playing, really understanding how different components of prompt work, how you can maximize the result, how you can get to the most accurate result, and really leverage on this technology and become more productive. How you could do that is by identifying what are the most boring things for you. So for example, I am a programmer myself. I love to code, but I hate to document that code. And this is, I could imagine there are many other programmers like me, but documenting code has a big impact on the whole team, on the other, your colleagues, and all the future team members who are going to join to be able to understand the work. So here I could really use a GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT to get documentation, which is going to be much cleaner and nicer than what I would have produced. So that's a use case. Another use case could be noting down minutes of the meeting. So this is something that we have to do, but not something that is really adding value to us. So we could really have just some keywords noted down and then use AI on the top of it to create some proper minutes of the meetings. Another use case could be that you are doing test-driven development and you do not really enjoy writing text. So you could use, let's say, GitHub Copilot or even ChatGPT to write those test cases for you. So basically, all the areas where you don't have to actively think, but you have to do it for the process, uh, for any other important reason. You can think about, could AI be able to help you in that? And if you are working in a team, what you could consider is creating some kind of a funny and interesting competition among the team members to really encourage everybody to get on board and have some rewards at the end on whoever is getting the fastest and the best outcome or the work done with the help of AI gets a coupon to a restaurant or something like that. So could be anything, but basically the idea is to bring everybody on board, to encourage everybody to try it. And more than 50% of the projects with AI fail. So failure is not a problem. It's important that you are open and that you're trying out and just being experimental. So anything that can encourage you or your team to try it out, this is something I would highly recommend. Last but not the least, very important. So if your boss is saying, okay, guys, here, use more of ChatGPT and include it in your workflow, don't see it as a task, but really see it as a skill that you're developing, not just for the company, but for your personal, your own career and your personal development. Imagine you have prompt engineering as one of your skill into your CV. that really adds more worth to your career and to yourself, and also in your personal projects, having an edge or really understanding how you can make the most out of this technology can save you a lot of time and really uh, put your work or bring your work to another level than what you would produce yourself. All right. So if you have more questions, then there is one newsletter that I follow myself. That's laura.com. I could recommend you to also check them out and get basically answers to your questions and all the updates that are happening in this area. And yeah, in case you want to reach out to me or contact me about something, I'm available on LinkedIn with the username Asha from Thinkin. And you can write me, you can follow along on my journey as an entrepreneur and my company. And yeah, I usually I'm active and answer, I think, within a couple of days. So yeah, always welcome, always happy to talk further on this topic. Right. So that was it. I hope you got insights into the buzz around generative AI, and you have the base and basic understanding of what we have right now and where this could be going. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining in, and it was really nice having you here. And it's our pleasure to host you as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in. And there are some questions. So in case you have some time to address these, I can just put those on the screen. If you have, like, there are 2 3 questions only. Just basic questions are there. Uh, just a second. So this is the first question. And hard cases in around 1 month. Maybe this guy is answering the question that you have answered. Okay, here we go with the first question. Does ChatGPT will reduce the job vacancies or will it increase? Please share your views.
That's an interesting question. So always, whenever a new technology comes, uh, we have to see it as not as a threat, but really as what are the new skills that are going to be needed, because always it is going to happen that as we progress, we our current skills might not be relevant in the future. So the fact that you are here, the fact that you have learned what is happening and what are the possibilities, it shows that you are interested in learning about it. So keep your mind open, learn about prompt engineering, get into the area of AI, and just be at the top of whatever is happening, and you will always have jobs or companies running behind you. I'm sure about it.
Yeah, definitely. And okay, there is another question, follow-up question for the same. Your views upon the AI for young students.
So that's really a vast, like a big area. There are so many things, and it really depends on what is your current skill set and what are you personally interested in.
So another question is from Shambhav. He's mostly asking about the code part. So not a pure runnable code. So yeah, definitely that. If you could address this one as well. Okay.
Yeah,
This
so
might
this
be.
is yeah, that's exactly what I said. I think in 2 3 slides I repeated it, that whatever you get out of ChatGPT, it's important to see it as the initial draft, as something that is already that you don't have to take the first step. The ChatGPT has already given you something that is the first step, and then you take it further yourself So it cannot be that you're using Chat GPT for producing code and you have no idea about code yourself. So it's always something that you're using to get to the next level, but you have to know what you want as the final result, and you should have the knowledge of to reach the final result yourself as well. Just with the help of ChatGPT, that process just gets very smooth and faster.
Yes, I totally agree with your point. All the points that you have mentioned. Knowing having some basic idea of coding definitely will be there. You can't code and paste. You can't code ask ChatGPT to code the entire thing and paste it right over there. So basic
Exactly.
idea is always, yeah, that is always welcome. So I don't see any question for the questions in the screen. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining in. It was nice hosting you, and it was my our pleasure to be here. And thank you for more enlightenment in future for Azure Developer Community, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. And
Thank you. Thank you
yeah,
everyone for
have a
joining.
nice evening, everyone.
Likewise.